You're listening to NorthWoods Church Matters, a podcast of NorthWoods Church in Evansville, Indiana, where we discuss why the local church matters and things that matter to the local church. I'm your host, Matt Higgins. Welcome back to the NorthWoods Church Matters podcast. We are going to talk today about reopening the church. There was news at the end of last week that as of May 8th, Governor Holcomb was going to allow churches to start meeting again here in Indiana, and we've been planning for this for a few weeks. And so the goal of today's podcast is for Bobby to really be able to lay out what our plan is and what things are going to look like when we start to reopen NorthWoods. Bobby, who should be coming to church this Sunday?
Well, I'm going to answer that by answering in reverse of who shouldn't. If you're sick, don't come. If you don't want to come, don't come. If you're immune suppressed, I probably wouldn't be wise to come. Governor Holcomb has communicated if you're 65 or older, he advises that you not come till May 24th. We are not carding you at the door, but we also have been, making all recommendations according to what the governor recommends. And so that recommendation's out there, and so we recommend along with the governor.
And just to bring out a point that I think we'll highlight throughout this episode, there is no shame in not coming to church.
That's exactly right.
There is no shame in continuing to watch online. If you feel that is the safest thing for you and your family, please do so.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no problem with that whatsoever.
That's exactly right.
So how are things going to work when people get here to church on Sunday? What will people notice that's different?
There'll be quite a few things different. So first of all, whenever you come in, let's deal with one of the other recommendations from the governor. One of the recommendations is that when you go out in public, that you would have a face mask on. And I would say we are out in public. And so we would say that recommendation applies here. So feel free to wear a face mask because it's recommended by what the governor has communicated.
Yeah, and I know people that are going out in public for the first time, they're kind of self-conscious about this, is everybody else going to be wearing a mask or am I just going to look stupid? Well, I've been out to several places and, people are wearing masks, and I think there's nothing dumb about wearing a mask.
Yeah, I will have one on. I will not have one on when I go onto the stage.
Me too. I'll have one on the whole time I'm here.
Okay. So, and I think that that's important to know. Once again, if we're not going to make you wear it, I will say, if you don't have one and you don't have one because you don't own one and you want one, they will be here. We will have them for you. And I think that that's important for people to know as well. A face mask will be provided if you want a face mask. And I don't see this as I don't see what's happened over the last few weeks as an issue of religious persecution.
Agreed.
The governor and our government has been trying to protect the community. And I think that that's been important for our church to simply be a part of a healthy society. And as we re-enter this time of worship services, we're simply trying to do it as safely and wisely as we know how to do that. And in the process of us doing it, we're going to enter safely and wisely.
Let me just interject in there. I'm going to beg people at this point that the church right now is not a time to make a political stand on wearing masks. This is a love your brother or sister, love your neighbor type question. You may think that this is the dumbest thing on the face of the earth based on what you've read on in your own personal research, but there are people that are genuinely concerned about this. And so as we talk through this, think about how can I love my neighbor well? And I think that's the overriding concern here.
I agree. One of the other things that I would say is that the main entrance to our church is this glassed-in lobby foyer area. That is an entrance only. And the other entrance that has been used in the past is back by the kitchen doors. that will no longer be an entrance at all. As a matter of fact, it will be locked. So all entrance into the church will go in through the glassed-in lobby. And in a moment, I'll talk about how we're going to exit. But when you walk into that glassed-in lobby, there will be greeters who are going to open the door. They're not going to be handing you a bulletin. There will be, if necessary, there will be greeters in the sanctuary who will help you find seats if that's necessary. We're not going to be giving you any paper stuff for if you need information on connect groups, if you need information on children or student ministry. All of that stuff for right now during this season of the life of our church has been done away with.
Yeah, and we have it online anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have removed our lobby furniture. It's Larry Sims' seat is gone. And so
did we keep the plaque?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so there's no coffee, there's no donuts, those type of things for this season in the life of our church. Those things are gone. Bathrooms will be frequently cleaned during this time. We're taking those things extremely seriously. And we should, by the way, Mike and Kathy Roberts have agreed to do that as a part of their duties adding to their duties on Sunday morning. We're very grateful for them. They're going to especially be doing that between the services and watching that very carefully. There will be more hand sanitizer stations that are available, so you'll see more and more of those throughout the church.
I can attest to that. You can probably bathe in hand sanitizer while you're here at NorthWoods.
That's right. When you get to your seat, you'll see bulletins already on the seat. And so that'll be the plan for bulletins. When you also get to your seat, you'll notice that every other row that you used to see is now gone. And so there's about 6 feet between each row. And when you sit down, and you and your family sit down, and they sit down together, if someone sits next to you, or if you're entering a row where someone else is seated, there should be 2 seats between them and you. So, in other words, practice safe social distancing in everywhere you go. Think about that at all times. And I just think that should become a general norm during this season. We will not be having children's ministries. There's not going to be a nursery for now. There will not be children's church. And not only will there not be that, but upstairs is actually closed.
It's locked. You cannot get upstairs.
Right. There will be, for moms with babies with infants, there will be a cry room available.
That's going to be located on the first hallway as you come into the building. That's normally the high school class, and then the room with the little potty in it. There's a room at all the end of the hallway. It's got a rocker, and it's got a changing table in it. We're asking that if you use the cry room, please don't take toddlers or other children there. That's just for moms and infants, and we're just trying to keep it that way.
Right, that's good.
It does have audio in there, so you can hear the service.
Right.
So moms, if you've got an infant that's a little colicky or needs a diaper change, there will be a place for you to do that.
Right. At the end of the sermon, we normally have a come forward invitation, let me quickly say, I believe in that. I think it's a good way to respond to a sermon. There's also nothing in the Bible that says you have to respond to a sermon via a come forward invitation. We're going to have to, at least temporarily, pause in doing that. Because when someone comes forward for an invitation, what happens? We walk forward and pray with someone, or they walk up to us, and now there's no social distancing. So what we are going to do is we have a next step table that will continue. Now we're going to have 2. There's one in the back corner near the kitchen. Now there's going to be one down front near the baptistry area. And so we will now have 2 next step tables, and you can respond via the Connect card. Then at the very end of the service, when we dismiss people, we are not dismissing like we normally dismiss. When we dismiss people, we will be dismissing people via sections. So if you could just imagine, the far ends, far sides of the churches will be dismissed first. And when they will leave going, we have two exits, only one entrance to the church, and there's two exits. The two exits are, when you're in the sanctuary, there is an exit that goes directly out of the sanctuary into the parking lot, into the south parking lot. And you can take that exit out. The other exit that you can take is you can go out by the kitchen, back by the water fountain, which was also not going to be used, but back by the water fountain, by the kitchen, you can go out those doors. Those are the two exits. So those are not entrances, but they're exit only. And for those, for example, who are coming from the first service, they come to the first service. When they leave, they're not going to walk past those who are coming to the second service. So this is our way of trying to be safe. And I think it's important as well when it comes to social distancing. Social distancing should be practiced whether you're in the church or out in the parking lot. This is a situation that here at 9920 North Green River Road, we're going to be careful in the way we practice social distancing at all places. And then I think the last thing is that the offering is going to be, there's going to be boxes on the wall where you can put your offering in the box, put the Connect card in the box, and you can give online.
Yeah, so all of our online giving options will continue. You'll still be able to give online. You'll still be able to text to give. All those options will continue. And we appreciate you guys doing that. And honestly, if you're not giving online, let us encourage you. Give online. There's nothing magical about putting a check in a box or in an offering plate. I mean, it's helpful for us.
That's right. Probably I should have said this earlier, but the two services are going to be at 9:15 this Sunday and 10:45. So that is a slight change as well for the 9 o'clock service time, because it used to be 9 o'clock and 10:45. It'd be 9:15 and 10:45. And the reason behind it is the average service for us lasts about an hour and 15 minutes. We don't want 30 minutes between the services. We want less time because we don't want people to have time to loiter.
Yeah, please don't congregate in the lobby.
That's right.
We won't have coffee and donuts. We won't have chairs for you to sit down. That's all intentional. We just want y'all to come in the worship service and enjoy worship and then go home.
That's exactly right.
We just don't need a lot of especially our lobby is very tight.
That's right.
And there's not a lot of ways you can social distance in there. So we like y'all, but please don't hang out here. That'd be great.
Yeah, we have been putting out it's on my Facebook page, it's on the church's Facebook page, it's on your Facebook page, where we have communicated a survey because we've wanted to know who's an approximate idea of, are people excited about coming? Are people fearful about coming? Because we've been in the dark about what people are thinking. And, you know, what you said earlier is really true. If we're not mad if people don't feel like they can come to church yet.
Yeah, and just to share some of those numbers that we've got already, preliminarily, the first question we ask is, are you coming to church on Sunday? And the results are about 40% said yes, 40% said no, and 20% said they don't know. And presumably they're waiting for this podcast to hear, what we're going to do. But, that's 60% of people that either say no or they don't know whether they're coming to church because they're fearful about COVID, and rightfully so. And if you think you're alone, you're not alone.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And we are okay as leaders, as pastors. We're simply trying to shepherd the best way we know how through this process. Will we shepherd imperfectly? Will we struggle through the shepherding? Oh, I promise you that's happening. I'm telling you, as lead pastor here, I don't know that I know what I'm doing. I can only tell you I'm doing the best I know to do. And that's why we asked questions, we're asking questions, and we're trying to open up as safely and wisely as we know how.
Yeah. And another reason to give out that statistic is that I know that there's some people out there that think that this whole COVID thing is either overblown or it's a governmental overreach. And you've got to know that there is people that are genuinely concerned about this. And let's love each other well through this, regardless of what our opinion is on it.
Right.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. We're working through 1 Timothy. And 1 Timothy talks about how a church is to function. Whether you're listening to this online or in person, what you're going to see is that an example of this was last Sunday, is that we are to revel in God's grace, and we are to treat each other gracefully while standing for truth. Matt, I think that that's pretty appropriate during a time like this.
Right.
Look, I don't know a lot about viruses, but I try to know as much as I can about Jesus. So I'm not an epidemiologist. Closest I ever got to infectious disease specialist, my sister worked for an infectious disease doctor once. I mean, that's as close as I ever got any of that stuff. And she made me feel like she had the cooties when she came home. I mean, it was just, weird. But as a follower of Christ, if you feel like you want to come to church, you're going to have that opportunity. But in the meantime, for all of the church, let's revel in God's grace and let's give grace to each other.
Thanks for joining us today on the NorthWoods Church podcast. If you'd like some more information on our ministry at NorthWoods Church in Evansville, Indiana, please visit us online at www.northwoodschurch.org. Again, that's www.northwoodschurch.org. We'll see you next time.